Well then, for the game, in Elmo and Brickhead is going to be played on Oasis with the same gods, and we don't really need to explain anything else, so let's just start right off the bat. So, we are starting at pretty much the better spawn of Oasis. Sometimes you spawn basically in the corners, which means that it's a bit more turtly. Oh, a bit more. Actually, a lot more turtly. But these are a bit more open games, so definitely like to see this. And we are, of course, having the zebras in the line of sight. And does it... Oh yeah, does Elmo have the same? He definitely does. Otherwise, it's so far looking that it's not really going to be any kind of high hunt type of Oasis. Sometimes you spawn a different or rather curious spawn that has an inordinate amount of food. But so far that's not really the case. We are going to be cheating a bit for the hunt at the bottom for Brickhead with the giraffes and gazelles, and that's exactly where he wants to go with his great hunt, because that's the one gets the most. He gets the most efficiency out of it. Or maybe he could be just waiting and see if he can gather a kind of high amount exactly of goats, and you can see that it's exactly, that it's exactly going to be the plan. It's already having husbandry, and he is also having double Ufsar, so that's going to be a very obvious strategy, as he's going to be attempting to steal as many goats from his opponent as possible, and that is where he's going to be using his great hunt. Nice idea. Okay. Quite curious how Elmo is going to be dealing with that, because that would be a whole lot of safe food for a Brickhead, and he definitely will be having an upper hand above his opponent, because of course his opponent is not going to be having any kind of luck like that. Where is he actually having his extra hunt? There are a lot of monkeys with hyenas. In the middle, yep, here in the middle. We are looking at the giraffes and the gazelles. And so far he's really having like none of the goats. He's having just one scouting at the top, and he has seen the extra goatees, so it's going to be 3 for him. But otherwise he's really losing a lot of them, so it's going to be about 4 for him. Whereas his opponent is having already 3, 5. Some extra coming home, so far not, but he has discovered the ones at the top, so that's going to be about 7. And that will make about 14 or some such from the great hunt, so definitely pretty great bonus, and exactly how you play it on a low hunt map when you have the goatees available. Better towers, great relic for the defense. And the TC positions in the meantime, well, not really bad. This is slightly better than Elmo's, because the Elmo's TC doesn't really cover anything all that much, whereas this one is quite close by to the middle passage. Yeah, it's a bit more strategically important, but overall, it's not really all that game changing. It's probably not going to be deciding the game at all. In the meantime, a relic for a better village gold caderate. Another pretty nice one. With Temple going for the defense. And that's kind of sloppy placement, I have to say. Even though it doesn't matter all that much. If he's going for some kind of defensive build-up, which might not be all that clear from the past games from Brickhead, you might be wanting to at least position it right next to the tower. Basically prevent easy distraction by hoplites or minotaurs or anything else. But yeah, he's not going for it yet. He's not going for it yet, and it's hoping that his open base is going to be quite fine, as he is shepherding those goats on the snap. Just trying to make sure that that the scout is actually not going to be stealing them, and it was. Definitely was paying off, because this is going to be super important for his next gameplay, as these are extra bonuses, so that's 9 goats, and let's look out for the great hunt. Oh well, that's going to be a lot of them for husbandry, with husbandry already in place. 14 goats right there, and with the husbandry they are going to be fattening up all that faster, and already right now it's like 130 times 14, which is a lot. 1000 like, something like that. 1000 food, and it's even more. It's going to be like almost 3000 food, something like that, which is just a huge amount. It is just a huge amount of food. Whereas Elmo is not going to be having any kind of special bonus like that. He's having just a few of those. Actually not bad, 5 is not bad, but still it's not 14. Advancing Athena and Heimdall, as you would be expecting, almost through for Elmo, which of course is going to be resulting in a bit different gameplay than what we have seen in the last game, because he's advancing 430, whereas his opponent is going to be advancing 5 minutes, which means that he's going to be full on defense, but still, that definitely puts an importance on interesting placement of the temple and of the houses. And what's the plan here? Trying to somehow protect the TC. I'm not exactly sure, but it looks all kinds of weird, which means that there is some kind of plan behind it. Let's see, let's wait how the walls are actually going to be mounting up. But it might be already a bit too late with the walls, because of course, army is already coming in, and even though it's just Minotaur and Jason, they are going to be accompanied by hoplites pretty soon, and Toxos as well, and so far are going to be the units of choice, of course, from the blue player, from the Zeus. Oh yeah, he's just going to be protecting his TC against Athena Rush full time. And this is basically just right now hugging the town center. And in that case, I'm not exactly understanding why he didn't hug the TC from the start. So it's basically just halfway either to protecting the town center or the tower, which in effect I think does neither all that well. It helps it both, but doesn't do it all that greatly. Which of course is a bit of a shame, but it's probably not going to be mattering all that much. In the meantime, tower. Yet again, like every time that I see players, actually even expert players like here, going for the upgrade into the towers, they are doing it in the tower that is the most unsafe and the most susceptible to getting destroyed and basically delaying your upgrade. So right now he is lucky, but by literally 18 hit points. Just don't do this, please. Don't do this. You need to do it in the back tower. Either this one or this one. One was basically the safest. But yeah. Just what the hell. You would be expecting a bit better from expert players, because these are... It might seem a small play, but it can make a lot of difference, because of course it could have denied the tower for like another minute. I don't know how fast it is actually built, half a minute probably. It was quite fast in the upgrade part. It will be just a minute later, and that would mean a bit more potential for Odin, for Elmo. You don't really want to do that, especially in a game that might be decided as soon as your opponent breaches your defenses, which might happen with Athena Rush. In the meantime, a bit of a scouting on the right because of course. Oh well, that's a bit of a shame. But he's probably keeping him here because of the gold. Which doesn't make any kind of sense because of the gold at the top, of course. So he's probably just waiting for something to find to kill potentially the hunters coming for the monkeys. Does make some kind of sense. But yeah, he wants to be a bit more mobile and having a bit of a look at what his opponent is doing. Ufsa is going for a bit more Odin, as Elmo is having a bit of a look around. He's trying to fall to the enemy's back. Brickhead already seen that is exactly going to happen. And he's quite curiously going for a very compact walling. Not going for a wall that basically most of the players would do about here, as it is a natural choke point. He goes for a bit more defensive wall because he wants to lure his opponent next to the towers, and he wants to protect a bit more efficiently the gold, rather than really just allowing him to raid as much as he can once the opponent is through. So of course gold right now not safe, but he's having enough army that he's going to be able to deal with this if he loses the tower. It's going to be pretty much fine, whereas in the meantime Brickhead is having Zulfsax into his enemy base as well. So let's wait for how this battle actually evolves, because it doesn't look all that great. It doesn't look all that great for Elmo, and with the restoration being cast it's going to be, or rather for Brickhead, but with the restoration cast it's going to be looking even worse. And basically the reason for this seemingly weirdly placed restoration, basically to be able to keep his opponent off the gold for as long as possible, as that is going to be given Elmo a pretty big advantage, obviously. Ah yeah, they are, oh yeah, almost run away too fast and too far. Bit of a shame. Right now he should be alright, but with transforming at least a few villages into the Ulfsack, it's probably going to be keeping the tower alive, which is exactly what he needs to do at this stage of the game. He needs to run, help himself with the Toxots and the Odysseus, and let's have a look into Elmo's base, where he was attempting to kill at least a few villages and maybe some buildings as well, but he is not really going to be effective because of course military buildings from Elmo are inside his base, and he can even attempt to be defied, which is kinda risky, but if he's hoping that he will be having reinforcement soon, Well, he kinda has, but they're not going to the correct placement. That did work out for him, even without them. Yeah. Careful about your gather points. But with the gold being quite alright on the right side for Brickhead, even the deny inside the base, it's not going to be all that effective for Elmo. But I'm kinda thinking that he doesn't know about the one on the right. Yeah, he has no idea, but right now he will be. And he knows that he doesn't really need to push for this position at all, because especially with the used restoration, basically can let his opponent do what he wants with this gold, because he is gathering gold safely anyway. And it's not going to be about gold starving anymore, and he should be probably switching into something a bit else, some kind of other strategy, like either attempting to sneak through the bottom into the food, or just right on screw it and go for second TC and heroic. Or just, you know, switching through gold on the right. But it's kinda easier said than done, because he cannot pass basically through the enemy base, which is of course quite a big victory right now for a Brickhead, and he doesn't have any kind of extra army on the top as it is right now, just having a bit of fun with raiding Upsarks from Brickhead. It means that these dudes are quite safe for the gathering in here. Well, almost looking like that Elmo will be making sure that his army is in one group. Then going for the gold, which means that going for this gold is going to be also, or rather yet again, coming onto the gameplay plan. And with the towers out, it might be quite easy for the blue player to somehow keep Elmo off the gold altogether, because next gold mine is all the way here, and that's really not safe at all. It's not safe at all, and might be a pretty good spot for Elmo to keep at least one Toxot. I would be just keeping at least one Toxot on this spot, because that's logically the next step where Brickhead might be moving if he loses this position, and he wants to actually keep that in check anyway, because if Brickhead plays this correctly, he will be diversifying his portfolio basically, and sending at least a few fully built gold miners onto the left, so that he isn't all that susceptible to basically full-on stop on the gold gathering. He is forced off the position on the right. Ready medium of Sarks. House coming up. There's some researches. Oh, they aren't. Not much resources for Elmo. Oh, this is not really looking all that great actually for Elmo. Should probably be retreating from this, because he's fighting inefficient battle. Those throwing axemen are going for a pretty efficient gameplay in here, especially with the Ulfstar that are just having so a high rate of attack, and with the mythical units in here, those Aeneas, even though they are kinda crap, they are in this position quite alright, because they are both tanky and they are large in the attack. Titan in the attack, that's the correct English. For all the units around them, and that resulted in pretty resounding victory for the red player, which is exactly something that Elmo did not expect, even though it really looked like that it might be a bit of a trap fight for him, and it definitely evolved into that. So that was unfortunate misplay by Elmo, and actually might be setting a pace for the game to come, because it resulted in Brickhead not losing all that many units, or rather as many units as Elmo. And since he is going to be having the town center without any kind of problem, and Elmo is not going for the town center himself, it's going to be pretty much impossible to keep his opponent of this gold right now, or the extra golds on the right. And it's just going to be literally impossible for Elmo to do anything about that at all. Yep, this bad fight might actually be coming back to bite Elmo for the remainder of the game, but let's not be too hasty, because of course there is still a lot of it to be played. We are going to be waiting for the players to somehow advance into heroic ages soon. Hopefully, because we are at 30 minutes, but they are apparently still sticking to the classical fighting. Oh, Sarissa. That's the spear for hoplites, right? That should be the spear for hoplites from Athena. Better hoplit heck armor. That will definitely help against all those throwing axemen. It's a nice reaction. But I would definitely like... What I'm missing in all 4 games from Elmo is mythical units, exactly as he's right now being raided, exactly on the temple. Should be, or rather, Zeus should be relying on that quite a lot, especially against a god like Odin, who is using units exactly like throwing Axemen and Usaks, not really all that many Heresiers, as I not just tanky, and they are a good unit with their special attack, basically can insta-kill anything. So yep, it's really kind of a weird choice that Elmo isn't using them all that much. And I think it's a bit of a shame for him, because of course they will be forcing a bit different gameplay in there, even though right now Elmo is able to catch his opponent off guard, as he was sending the villagers from the bottom into apparent safety, but unfortunately he didn't really play it correctly, and with his army being elsewhere, he has sent some Ulfsarks into the Radiant. He didn't have enough to defend, and it resulted into pretty huge disaster, to be honest, because not only has he lost like half of the army, he also lost almost all the gold mines. You can see literally 3 left. He was having like, I don't know, 12, 15. That's bad. That's real bad. Real bad. And as it looked like that Brickhead might be inching into the victory through the bad battle of Elmo, it's right now turned on its head, like, altogether. We are basically back where we were, and Elmo's still having a pretty good fighting chance for the game to come. Even though right now he's of course yet again taking a bad encounter, he still did pretty huge damage to the economy of his opponent, and it might really be coming through for him. Safeguard. I don't actually exactly remember what it is. Safeguard, let's just check. Ah, yeah, I was just thinking it might be something from Heimdall, and it is for better towers and wall hit points, and cheaper towers. That's something that is very important and interesting, and actually might be coming into play in here. So we have seen the Brickhead using towers in the previous games, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was his strategy right now. He does have a lot of wood. It's an amount of gold, but definitely going to be a bit of a problem for him for the minutes to come. But he does right now. He's diversified the portfolio, and probably once this gold mine is running out, he's going to be moving a bit to the left. He's probably moving already in there for not only a bit more raiding, but probably drop a tower as well. I would be expecting that from the red player to basically secure this gold mine. The pathing of this guy definitely follows something like that. Okay, so it was just a fluke. It wasn't any kind of forethought like that. In the meantime, Brickhead going here, and it's almost looking like that he's attempting to steal the TC, and yes, he is. And unfortunately, since Elmo isn't taking care of it at all, you can see line of sight and then in here. So he has absolutely zero idea. And since he's pumping everything into the middle, trying to make sure that Brickhead is not coming with the main army through, that is going to be a pretty huge surprise, and that's yet another game where the opponent is stealing the TC of his opponent. Here we catch coming through for Elmo. Economy upgrades Hendax, Plow and Shaft Mine. It's not bad. Oh, a lot of towers coming up. Next to Gold Mine. That is almost, well, less than half. Not sure if the investment is worth it. And he's not having all that many upgrades as his opponent, but still pretty much alright for the time being. But he needs to upgrade into the next age sometime soon. But he isn't. He isn't yet. In the meantime, of course, this is resulting into Elmo going for the TC, and he might actually want to go for bronze as soon as he's engaged by his opponent, but since it doesn't look like that he will be, it's going to result into Brickhead being back to 2, even though he has stolen the one at the top. He's going to be losing the one at the bottom, which is a whole lot more important, because it's not like this TC is really going to be any kind of crucial map point, even though you can see he's using it creatively to build the Ulfsarks for the raiding on the gold. This is much more important for Brickhead because of the farms. He's going to be losing food economy in here, and that's very important spot for Elmo to keep in his power. Those 4, maybe 5 towers, that's going to be pretty tough. But with bronze, he could just be in it. I would probably do it. I would just bronze it. But he has already lost all too many units into this futile fight. If he went into it with basically full army, bronzed it, went with hoplites against the towers, they would be just taking them down very fast. And the Toxots going for all the units for the throwing axemen might actually be coming out of it victorious. Yep, of course, as you would expect. Good for him. In the meantime, Blue is forced to go for another hunt, or rather another gold on the bottom, which he definitely still does have. Does he have something at the back? Not really, but he does have still one gold at the top, but it's basically the same as the one in here, because of course the town center is still present from Brickhead, and he is going to be attempting to build a temple to help him with defending this position, and maybe even being a bit more annoying than his opponent might be hoping for. Right now the bronze is coming, but unfortunately, oh, so many hoplites almost dead. That's kind of sucky. And you can see it's right now going to be, oh yeah, he actually allowed his opponent to get too many army, or rather too much army. And it's right now not going to be effective, as we were talking about it a bit earlier, so he basically missed the opportunity for it. And that's going to be resulting into basically wasted bronze, which is very sucky indeed, and that's a whole lot of shame for him. So basically giving an opportunity to his opponent, as Brickhead is right now moving through gold on the left, and basically right now doesn't mind at all that he might not be gathering on the right sometime soon. Because of course the hunt or the gold on the left is pretty much safe. It doesn't seem like that Elmo will be moving there anytime soon. So I are having a bit of fun, as of course there's a bit of gold trading on the right, and even though there are a few toxots help with the defense, still the Ulfsaraks are 10, toxots are 3, hoplits also, so if he plays this correctly and basically picks them off one by one, he is going to be able to deny this gold to Elmo as well. Are they coming in? But heavy hoplits already. They are having a bit of fun with the medium Ulfsaraks. Now we've seen some military upgrades actually. I wouldn't be expecting so. Yeah, of course. Nothing for red, and Elmo is probably not going to be having anything. Oh! Scratch that, he actually does have copper mail and copper weapons. So he's expecting that he will be sticking to Heroic Age for a bit longer. Oh, he actually might not be, even though he's missing gold right now. So that's the importance of this disruption, of this gold trading by Brickhead. And even though he is attempting to build the town center, he's probably not going to be effective enough, as he's going to lose quite a bit of army. And if a brigade is going to be fast enough with reinforcements, which he's attempting to be, not sure. Much more importantly, there is finally gold trading on the left, and Brickhead is yet again going to be reaping the benefits of getting gold on both spots. That's actually well played, because he will be denied the town center as he's freezing not only the army, but also the villagers. And since villagers are in short supply right now for Elmo, and he cannot send all that many of them in there, he is going to be in a tough situation, because of course this is giving time to Brickhead to basically prepare to deny this goal altogether, with not only the hill forts, but of course with the military presence that is going to be quite inevitable at this point. Center at the back, so it's going to be 4 versus 1. Does actually Brickhead know, or rather Elmo know about the DC that it's been stolen? Yes, he does. He does know about it. Market coming up, so are we going to be seeing Mythic? Yeah, Hera, alright. The Hera, Team Cavalry and Fortified Town Center for their opponents, so it's going to be Yaros, of course. Yaros coming up, and might they be a good idea? I'm not exactly sure, because we have seen that Elmo is still building a pretty big amount of hoplites. They are going to be kinda hard countered, but they are overall tanky unit. They might be helping against potentially the Mythic Rage units from the temple that might be coming in a bit later into the game. Frost Giant just ready. Please those villagers. Let's wait for it. Of course. Still, and now he stops. And at the same time, we are looking at Brickhead basically losing both hill forts in here, because Elmo was able to transport all his base, or rather all his armies, in basically one spot, and that's exactly what he right now needs to do. Because if he is going to be divided by Brickhead, he is on the shorter end of the stick, because Brickhead does have 4 town centers and potentially better opportunity to abuse his opponent, basically have the map control, and really, if he is able to force a Brickhead into one big engagement, he is going to be basically killing all of it with the storm. And then that might be basically the game for him. Elmo finished with the second TC. A little bit of fade in, and that's interesting and weird, and definitely a waste. He was probably thinking that he's going to be killing those villagers, but you could have seen that basically backfired, and yeah, that might actually come back to bite him quite a lot, because of course, Lightning Storm is one of the most powerful god powers in single combat, because you can basically annihilate the whole army of your opponent, and that's right now not going to be available to Elmo. And even though he will be killing the hill fort, yeah, well, he won't. Should have been killing the hill fort first, of course, but once it was built, it was kind of tough fight for him, and he didn't do anything. So not only didn't he take down the town center, he wasted Lightning Storm, and he didn't kill basically anything at all. He killed just a few villages, a whole lot of monkeys. I think that was killed through the Lightning Storm as well. Poor monkeys. Is right now going to be facing a tough dilemma, because he is of course 2 TCs down, and if Brickhead is advancing into the next age sometime soon, which so far luckily for him isn't, might want to, I don't know, somehow switch his plans, because of course with Medusas and not Colossi, doesn't have all that many chances how to actually overpower his opponent, because he will be relying only on hobbits, it's looking like, as he doesn't have any kind of fortresses either. Doesn't have gold whatsoever. Shaft mine could go in for Quarry. Does have the resources for it. But yeah, he is right now looking on the left and switching into Myrmidons, which is of course unit of choice against Norse, as they are just very powerful and they can be countered very hardly, or rather it's very tough for the Norse to counter them, especially once you are age down as opposed to your opponent, but still, they are not all powerful. Be a bit more careful to wait for the remaining army. Right now, basically, Brickhead should be already running, as he should be expecting that this is going to be a pretty bad fight for him. Gathering food, gold kinda half denied, but not all that much, because of course we have seen that Brickhead still does have some kind of army to protect this gold. And well, it's kinda interesting right now, because Brickhead seems to be some kind of interim, probably sparing resources for Mythic. Let's see, he's having nothing here. God damn it. God damn it, what am I? Yes, Balder. That's the reason why he's not having a really high army right now. He's hoping that the Ragnarok might be the winning condition for him, and I definitely agree, because Toxels are just medium, even though he does have champion infantry and the Myrmidons. Probably doesn't have all that many extra upgrades. He's having copper, whereas his opponent is having some military upgrades. No, he isn't, but it's going to be just an influx, huge influx of army, as right now he's probably popped civilian units. He is almost at 80, so that's basically going to be full pop Ragnarok, and that might be a bit too much to handle for Elmo, especially since Elmo is having basically just 2 TC army at his disposal. 60% Balder still though, so with a bit of luck he actually might be able to take down the TC. Let's see this is correctly, and if he has some kind of reinforcements in place. No, he doesn't, so he shouldn't be in time, because there are enough units from Brickhead and enough military buildings to actually protect this. But he also needs to protect the villages, of course, because each villager that is going to be one less villager to be turned into a hero. Also denying still gold on the right, which is very crucial and important, as he's gathering from another spot. Bit of an efficiency problem, but who minds at this point, as Balder is coming in, and just now, as those Myrmidons are not going to be taking out the TC in time, and are right now getting the Ragnarok, and of course, yeah, pretty big problem. Elmo seeing that that is not something that he can handle at all. Yep, 4 TCs against 2, plus Ragnarok, plus being out of gold for Elmo. Just too many signs that the game will not be finishing in its favor. That's why he decides to call it a game. So well played. Interesting decisions in there, which we could be calling suboptimal, like the Elmo's fight. Then the Brickheads position on the gold, where he lost a lot of gold villages in here, basically allowing Elmo to make up for the deficit in there. But yeah, in the end, worked out rather well for Brickhead. He's raiding on the gold and denied the gold to his opponent, and of course the town centers as well. Still, that wasn't something that Elmo was able to overturn for the whole duration of the game. Already halfway into the opponent's base in the gold miners. Now let's check the post game. Quite equalish, both players winning something. Elmo winning economy. Not all that much, actually. The resources are pretty much the same. You can see 5,000 more on gold, but 5,000 more on food. Much the same. Efficiency, a whole lot better than in the last games, but still, Brickhead 215, skill just 145. It basically tells you that he was just doing a whole lot of raiding, efficient fighting, but in the end, that was exactly what he needed to establish himself with the extra TCs, and basically, it worked for his game plan. Then the efficiency for Elmo wasn't enough. The same research count, 17. It was the same last game at 9, I think, like that. All the faster upgrades for Elmo. Propagate the victory. Especially, it has to be said, because Elmo didn't use the god powers correctly. Basically, Bronze was wasted and Lightning Storm was wasted as well. Both are very powerful, especially in 1v1. 1v1, those two god powers are super powerful, but unfortunately they weren't used correctly. Either of them. That really hurt Elmo, I think. But still, well played by both him and Brickhead. It's GG. And that was the last game. They played just 4, so we are ending at basically an equal tie of 2-2, which is a nice result to have, of course, for them, once they were going for S and such. And even though we won't see the victory, or rather the victor of this match, we have seen very interesting games, all 4 of them. And we have seen a different gameplay, and very interesting gameplay from both Odin and Zeus in here. Well then, GG yet again.